Coming up next on Safety and Awareness Today, we'll talk to Boy Scout Troop 9 about camp safety.
There are skills that once learned, you never forget about them, even if you don't use them on a daily basis.
Plus, some things you should know about riding a motorcycle.
Their capabilities far exceed the limitations of riding them on the street.
And Young Eagles of America.
Safety and Awareness Today, brought to you in part by McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Right now we're going to cover some safety and awareness regarding camping. I'm fortunate to be here with Andy Beach. It's nice to have you with us on the show. Yep, and you're a Scoutmaster.
For Troop 9?
For Troop 9, that's wonderful. And you got some of the Scouts here today. They're going to demonstrate or at least show us some of the things we're talking about.
Correct.
And I guess one of the factors, if we get right into it, is that there are a lot of things regarding camping that can make camping more fun because it makes it safer. And the first one is some of the things to bring with you when you're going to go camping. What should you think ahead, and some very important objects that you should have with you?
Well, you should always have your first aid kit. Make sure that if you get injured, that you can take care of those injuries. Okay. Plenty of water for dehydration, even in the winter time. And if you don't have the water, some sort of purification method so that you can get water. Raincoats if the weather's iffy, all sorts of supplies like that.
All right, those things are important. And the first aid kit is a common one. Everybody mentions it. It's amazing how many people don't have one. They just never think to put that little, and you can get these little kits now that have just about everything you need for any small injury or any cut. Now, along with food, you talked about water. Dehydration becomes a problem. Bringing the right foods makes a difference too, and especially not for yourself, but to make sure that it's not eaten by the animals. Right. So with food, what kind of things, what do you want to be careful of as far as food?
Well, the main thing is that depending where you're camping, for example, if you're up in the Adirondacks and you want to stay away from or keep the bears away from you, so you want to make sure that all the food items that you may be cooking with and the food itself is actually not with you while you're sleeping at night. So the boys will actually demonstrate the use of a bear box or a bear keg.
So you keep it just a little away. Matter of fact, if you put all the food right outside your tent, raccoons and a few other
you'll have
critters.
Ants, you'll have raccoons, you may have skunks, you'll have all sorts of things that you don't want.
Just walking right up that you don't want there. Right. We talked about some of the things that earlier before we got started that you have to be aware of regarding poisons, regarding injuries, some animals and some other things. What kind of things are we talking about in the woods?
Well, just walking around through the woods, you might have just tripping hazards like branches and so forth, but as far as animal life, there's the raccoons and the bears, the skunks and so forth. Then you've got plant life like the poison ivy. You want to make sure you stay away from poison ivy.
Poison ivy is a dangerous one. I know we think of poison oak and sumac, but most commonly it's the poison ivy. It's
a poison ivy. You can tell poison ivy because there's 3 leaves, they're glossy, they've got a tinge of red, and the stem is actually looks like a tree bark. So, okay. But the main thing there is if you pick it up and you get the oil on your hands, it's the oil that creates the reaction, and that oil can go on your clothes. So if you get poison ivy, you take care of your skin, you put the same clothes back on 2 days later, and it'll actually give you poison ivy again.
But you can get rid of the poison ivy if you wash the clothes.
Yeah, the first thing you want to do is take off the clothes that you have that's been contaminated with the oils, get them washed before you wear them again. In fact, put them in a plastic bag.
Separate from other clothes.
Right, because otherwise the oils will transfer to those other clothes.
All right, that's worth knowing. Now, one other thing to be aware of, we mentioned fire ants. Mm-hmm. So fire ants are available. I know how nasty they can be, and in Florida sometimes you can get a real nest of fire ants, but it doesn't matter now. They're everywhere. Yeah. And bees. Bees,
and you want to be really important with that because those people who are allergic to them are very allergic and need to have the appropriate medication within seconds or minutes after they receive the sting.
Literally, so people don't realize, I think the statistics are more people die of bee stings in this country than snake bites or any other single.
Right.
Yeah, because it softens up the cartilage rings and it collapses. Now, putting up a tent, there's methods by which of doing this. What are some of the...
Well, even before you start setting it up, you need to make sure you have it in the right location. You want to make sure you're out of dry riverbeds, for example. You want to make sure you've checked the overhead area to make sure there's no limbs that could fall on you. At the same point, if you find one nice shady tree in the middle of a field and there's thunderstorms around, you want to stay away from the shady tree.
Okay.
So you need to do that. You need to make sure you're on a flat level area, dig a trench around it, have the proper vapor barrier underneath. So there's a whole methodology of setting up tents.
Setting up a tent. Now the Boy Scouts, they go through all of this. I'm sure the Girl Scouts do too, and it's safety factors for the rest of their lives in a lot of activities and sports that they're going to participate in. So these things play a role in their life forever.
There are skills that once learned, you never forget about them. Even if you don't use them on a daily basis, years down the road, you come back to use them. We have people that have been lost in the Adirondacks that were ex-Eagles or were Eagle Scouts, and they were able to survive winter nights because of their skills they learned.
Because they understood. Thanks for spending some time with us and sharing that knowledge, and we will be back with more information.
Coming up on Safety and Awareness Today.
The basics of it is to give young people an aviation experience. In the simplest of forms, we take them for a ride.
We're here at Frankfurt Highland Airport on a gorgeous morning to talk to the president of the EAA, Frank Green, about Young Eagles of America.
And back in 1992, we started this program called Young Eagles, which the basics of it is to give young people an aviation experience. In the simplest of forms, we take them for a ride.
Right.
Absolutely free of charge to the parents, the children, whatsoever. It's a totally voluntary thing by the pilots, by the EAA members. And to this date, we are now up to 1.3 million kids worldwide that we simply took for a ride.
Took for a ride. And you chatted with them first.
Besides taking them for a ride, we give them a little bit of aerodynamics about how an airplane flies, why an airplane flies, the instrumentation in the cockpit, the controls. So they learn a little bit about the airplanes that they can't learn sitting in the back of an airliner.
That's right.
You know, as far as what's going on with the airplane.
Okay. Now, now I'm going to jump right in.
In the basics, we're trying to inspire them.
That's what and that's really what it is. It's exciting them. It's getting them to think about it and feel comfortable with it. Because we have a group of kids here today, young ladies and gentlemen, young adults, and who've never been in. I mean, all but two of them. They've never been in a small plane. So it's going to be exciting for them. Now, when they get into the plane, the pilots are going over some things. What are some of the safety things that a pilot, when they have a passenger, should cover?
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's an airliner all the way down through a Piper Cub. You start with a pre-flight of the airplane.
Okay.
You look at could you imagine the safety we'd have today in cars if everybody walked around their car and checked and inspected their car every time they drove it?
Yeah.
We do that with an airplane. Before every time we fly it, we give it a basic look around inspection of all its vital components to make sure everything is proper.
Okay.
So that's the first thing is a pre-flight inspection.
Okay. Then they get inside, because I was watching a few of them and they're getting their seat belts on so that they're secure in the seat.
Most planes today have a full shoulder harness, 2 shoulder straps, full belt system. There's still a few planes out there with just lap belt. Most planes today have gone to a full shoulder harness system. We're highly encouraging that for safety.
All right. There's an intercom system for the person who's a passenger.
Most planes, we have a little bit of a noise factor in the plane. Most planes do have intercom systems with headsets and microphones on them. Plus, then that's also for communication outside the aircraft.
Okay, good.
So,
and then they're going to warm the plane up, and they're going to check it out before they go to the runway.
The engine, all of the gauges are watched, checked, inspected. We do a run-up of the engine. We check the 2 ignition systems that are on the engine and make sure both are functioning properly.
Right.
And check the engine over from the operating standpoint before we accelerate down the runway.
Good. And then we're checking the windsock to make sure that it's, and if it's just hanging down there, that's wonderful. If
it's like it is today, we love it.
We love it.
If it is indicating a direction of wind, we always take off into the wind.
Right.
So that's going to tell us which runway or which direction on the runway that we're going to take off.
Okay. Well, it's just exciting to see these young adults involved in this, to see the planes that we've got here, to see the support we have from the pilots, the giving back regarding the sport they love so much. If somebody wants to get involved, wants their son and daughter to be able to get involved regarding the Young Eagles, what phone number could they use?
They can call me at my office at 866-2110 and ask for Frank. That's me.
Okay.
That's at my office. And we have a couple of events upcoming.
All right.
On June 10th, right here at Frankfurt Highland Airport, just off of Higbee Road, our chapter, our group, is going to be putting on a pancake breakfast on a Sunday morning.
Okay.
So there's going to be, if it's a good day, we'll get 50 airplanes here. It's open to the public. They can come up and have pancakes and eggs on us.
Okay.
And we will be doing some Eagle rides that day.
Okay. Wonderful.
You know, as many as we can, so they can come then. If they call and pre-register, that would help.
Frank, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. It's really great. I mean, I hope we get to do more, and you're doing a wonderful job as president of the EAA.
It is our pleasure to give these kids a ride. We get as much of a kick out of giving these kids the ride as the kids do, because we do it for the smiles. Yeah. Okay. Because they just have a ball.
Yep. I know.
They're ear to ear grin through the whole flight, most of them.
So, jeez, thanks again.
Okay.
Coming up on Safety and Awareness Today.
Well, it's true, and some of the sport bikes today, of course, their capabilities far exceed the limitations of riding them on the street.
Safety and Awareness Today, brought to you in part by Dr. Uniforms, more than just medical.
Motorcycle safety is important, and we're here at Dave's Diner to talk to Lynn about getting your license and how to be safe.
Business is Go Motorcycling.
Go Motorcycling.
We're the local training site for the state's motorcycle safety program.
All right, that's great. Now, where is this held?
We run courses at MVCC in Utica and Rome, and up at Jefferson College in Watertown.
All right, and once school's out, you have programs during the week, but you have them during the weekend too.
That's right, yes.
All summer?
All summer and right through until it snows again, whenever that might be.
If they wanted to get a hold of you, what number would they call?
It would be 858-3321 or our website, gomotorcycling.net.
Literally, they could get in a Friday, Saturday, Sunday program, and the cost is roughly $275.
That's right.
And have everything they need and simply wait the 3 to 6 weeks for the license to come through.
That's right. If you have your New York State car driver's license and your motorcycle learner's permit while you're taking the class, when you pass the course, you're not required to do your DMV road test.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Do you have motorcycles for people? They have to have their own
No,
bike?
everybody has their own bike. We supply the bikes.
You supply a bike?
They're all small training bikes, 250 cc's and under.
Oh, geez.
And we've got helmets and stuff if you don't have a helmet of your own.
It's a fully outfitted program, ready to go. Self-contained program. All you got to do is see Lynn. I like it. Now, some of the safety things that we want to deal with as motorcyclists, and I've been riding for a fair many years. Okay, since 1964. But what are some of the safety factors that motorcyclists should be aware of? Not the drivers, us. To make us aware.
Well, especially this time of year, we need to be aware that our skills are rusty. We haven't been riding all winter long.
That's true.
Especially up here, it's a little longer stretch than in the southern climates. All right, make sure our bike is in good shape. Yes. All right, after its winter hiatus, all in good condition, and that the road surfaces themselves this time of year are still covered up with some winter crud, and especially at the intersections, you need to watch out for that.
That's a factor too on the intersections. The debris, the sand, the dirt that's laid down, that makes the turns a little tougher and a little tighter. You have to be a lot more careful there.
This time of year especially, and now too that the farmers are plowing their fields. as they leave the fields, their tractors and stuff leave a lot of mud and stuff on the road that you need to be mindful of.
And that's another factor. I'm going to throw an N factor in because you just made me think of it, and that is in the fall when the leaves are starting to hit the road and they get wet. That's one of the slipperiest, most dangerous times.
Exactly so, and they can obscure road hazards even when they're not wet.
When they're not wet. Those are good factors. Want to look out for those. Now, as far as riding, what kind of visibility, what kind of gear should you wear?
Well, you know, one of the leading things that comes out in crashes that involve other drivers is often the driver doesn't see the motorcyclist. So anything a motorcyclist can do to make themselves be more visible is a good thing. And bright colors, neon colors in particular, help in those shoulder hours, in the dawn and dusk, when there's not a lot of light to pick up just a bright color, but the neon colors will pop then, and light-colored helmet. Anything you can do and where you position yourself.
Now with the helmet, you should have a reflector on the side.
It's a good idea to put reflective material on the sides and the back of your helmet so that you're more visible at night. And of course your helmet for riding on the street needs to be approved by the DOT.
All right, okay, that's good. Now, one other factor, when you're going down the road, and I see now more often, although it's not a law, you really discourage people from riding side by side.
Well, one of the advantages a motorcyclist has over a car is that it's smaller and can move within the lane.
Yes.
So if there's a pothole or some road hazard on the left side of the lane, you could move to the right. If you're riding side by side with someone, you've eliminated your safety area.
That's true. That's a good point.
So keeping a staggered formation and riding in a group or even single file will give you more options.
All right, great. Now, one other thing that we kind of chatted on, I want to mention, and that is that there's a noticeable blind spot for vehicles regarding motorcycles when you start to pass. If you're out in that back left corner, they don't see at all. Side mirror or rear view mirror, they just don't see it, do they?
No, they don't. They need to, well, car drivers wouldn't necessarily be thinking to do a head check over their shoulder. So
that's right.
You need to execute your pass safely.
And get out of that zone.
And not hang out. We call that the no zone on trucks, but we want to
zone.
not be in that blind spot.
That's okay, and that's a good word for motorcyclists. That's the no zone. You shouldn't be in that slot because they aren't seeing you at that point.
No.
What are some of the things they have to be able to do to pass the motorcycle exam?
The rider course exam really covers a lot of, the course itself covers a lot of territory. We teach people how to start out and stop and how to change gears. We'll do quick stops, we'll do cornering, swerving, lane changing, riding over obstacles. The exam consists of 4 basic skills though. You need to be able to stop quickly, which is a good one.
Yes.
You need to be able to swerve to avoid a hazard.
Yeah, now we say stop quickly and we laugh because stopping quickly could mean falling down on a motorcycle, so you don't want to.
If you execute it properly,
you will not. Good. That's right, okay.
So we cover stopping quickly, cornering, swerving, and then low-speed maneuvers, similar to the DMV road test with U-turns.
Left circles, right circles, figure eights,
We'll do U-turns. It comprises the same skill set, however.
Okay, that's great. Are there any different restrictions for scooters, or are they held by the same regulations?
Well, scooter drivers need to follow the same rules of the road, as do any vehicle operators on the road.
Yep.
Depending on the size of the scooter, a motorcycle license and insurance may or may not be required. So you need to check with the DMV.
So you need to check. You know, I hate to bring this up, but I see a lot of the bikes where the passenger leans over and that passenger's hanging on and there's no backrest and there's not even much of a seat for them to sit. There isn't much we can say to them except be careful, is there?
Well, the safety angle of it really depends a lot on the driver, the rider of the motorcycle. Bikes that have a second seat are theoretically designed to carry a passenger, but of course if the rider rides in an improper way with hard accelerations or hard stops, it could be a less safe and less comfortable experience for the passenger than on a bike that has, for instance, a backrest or other amenities.
That's good. Well, that's good because we see more and more of that. And bikes go faster and faster, and that's not necessarily what they were designed for. They were designed as a means of transportation, safe transportation within the guidelines and laws.
Well, it's true, and some of the sport bikes today, of course, their capabilities far exceed the limitations of riding them on the street. Okay,
great information. How can they reach you again?
Our office number is 315-858-3321, or you can visit our website, www.gomotorcycling.net.
All right, now before I say goodbye, I want to thank Dave's Diner. This is a great place and he's made this available to us. Hopefully we can get together again before the season's over. Thanks for all the helpful tips,
That would be great.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Coming up on the next Safety and Awareness Today.
Who wrote the TV show and wanted us to cover rock climbing. I want to know your name. Right now, I want to point out a helper, and I have Officer Yaxall with me. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Pleasure to be here, sir.
Police officers are helpers, and they have very complicated, difficult jobs in many ways, but the uniform is how boys and girls should be able to identify them. You need to point that out to your children, and you carry a lot of equipment with you. What do you have with you?
Yes, sir. I have my duty weapon.
All right.
Okay, it's 6-hour P226.
All right.
Okay, 40 caliber. We also carry pepper spray.
Yeah.
Extra magazines for the duty weapon.
All right.
Some handcuffs.
All right.
Taser.
A taser gun, and that puts out an electrical charge when it's fired into
50,000 volts.
50,000 volts.
A flashlight for low light level situations.
Okay.
Okay, portable duty radio.
All right.
Extra set of handcuffs on the back.
Okay.
And also rubber gloves.
And rubber gloves. We are right now at a dispatch unit. This is where people would call in to be able to have you notified that they need your help.
Correct.
Excellent. That is a helper. Police officers are helpers. They carry a lot of equipment and they deal with very complex situations. If you need them, you call them. If they come, work with them. It makes a difference. Thank you for being with us.